After nearly 2 years, more than 16,000 hours, over 300 webinars analyzed, and far too many sleepless nights, I realized something uncomfortable. Webinars are not a lead magnet by default. They become one only when you create them with the intention. What if your next webinar could bring in leads who are already ready to buy, instead of people who just wanted a free session? And when you get that intention right, a single webinar can outperform months of scattered marketing. In the next few minutes, I'll show you how to create a webinar that attracts the right leads, generates genuine interest, and guides them towards a clear next step. Hey, I'm Alan. At ProProf's Training Academy, we have worked with over 2,000 companies and helped 4 million plus trainers, educators, and marketing professionals. With that experience, we have cracked the code behind webinar lead generation that actually fills pipelines, not inboxes with excuses. And a quick note, if you are struggling with people showing interest but never following through, subscribe now. You will get clear ways to fix those gaps across marketing, training, and sales without chasing people or sounding desperate. Now, let's get straight to what works. We already know webinars are not the problem, right? So let's talk about the real issue. While most webinars sell a topic, the high-performing webinars sell a result. Let me explain this with an example. The best webinar for lead generation does not say, "Join us to learn about marketing automation." Rather, it says, "Here's how a 12-person team generated 317 demo requests without increasing ad spend." That difference changes who signs up. A topic attracts curiosity. The result attracts intent. When creating a lead generation strategy, a procurement manager does not prioritize best practices. They care about avoiding a costly mistake before their next vendor review. When the webinar promises that outcome clearly, the right leads self-select. You can share this video with someone who keeps hosting educational webinars and is wondering why sales never follow. This part alone could fix almost all their issues. Now that the right people are registering, let's discuss why some webinars seem invisible, while others are impossible to ignore. Here's the truth. People do not attend webinars because they signed up. They attend because they believe they will miss something valuable. Strong webinar lead generation relies on anticipation. In other words, the feeling that skipping this session means staying stuck. For instance, think about a webinar that promises, "I'll show you the exact email that reactivated 43 dead leads in 7 days." Now, compare that to, "We will discuss lead nurturing strategies." One creates urgency. The other creates a nap. In a strong lead generation webinar, anticipation is built in by teasing specific moments. You can always add statements like, "This is where most teams lose deals," or "This slide alone paid for the webinar," or even, "That mistake cost companies 6 figures a year." Such statements always trigger anticipation. Exciting, right? Now that you know anticipation matters, let's talk about the fastest way to supercharge it without sounding needy or spammy. The strongest webinar lead generation does not depend on one reminder email. It depends on momentum that builds over several days, and it makes attendance feel natural instead of forced. Remember, when people register, they are interested, but when they attend, they are invested. Automated email teasing is what bridges that gap and does the heavy lifting for you. I'd like to think of it as a movie trailer strategy. You do not show the whole film up front, right? You tease the moment everyone wants to see, so they feel silly missing it. This approach routinely lifts attendance by about 20 to 30%. So here's the process you can follow right after someone registers. Send a confirmation message that does more than say, "You're in." It sets expectations, makes it easy to save the date, and teases one big takeaway. For example, you can say, "Get ready, because I will reveal the exact email template that reactivated 43 dead leads." Next, a few days before the webinar, you need to shift into curiosity. You can share a quick insight or a surprising stat that hints at a bigger mistake you will unpack live. You can say, "Most teams lose high-intent leads because of one small follow-up error," and I will break it down step by step during the session. Now, as the webinar gets closer, curiosity should turn into urgency. At this point, you highlight a moment that is clearly better live, such as a live Q&A, a real example teardown, or a bonus that only live attendees receive. And right on the day of the webinar, the final email should sound like a confident nudge, not a desperate plea. It should clearly remind them the session is about to start. Include the join link and reinforce what they are about to gain. In the entire process, personalization also matters more than people think. When you use their name, reference why they signed up, and make the add to calendar option obvious. You reinforce that this webinar was built for them, not for everyone. Now that anticipation is no longer just a feeling, and your registrants are actually showing up live, let's talk about what happens next. Because the real win is what you do inside the webinar to turn attention into hot leads. Here is what webinars quietly outperform ebooks and ads. They reveal intent in real time. A great lead-generating webinar is not a lecture. It's a conversation disguised as a presentation. When attendees react, ask questions, or respond to prompts, they tell you exactly where they are in the buying journey. For instance, when someone asks, does this work for teams over 500? They are not casually browsing, they are evaluating. In fact, in a B2B webinar lead generation, this matters even more. Sales cycles are longer, and buying committees are cautious. In such a case, engagement signals help you focus on follow-up with people who are already leaning forward. And a quick reminder, if you want fewer awkward follow-ups and more, yes, let's talk replies, hit like on this video. That tells the algorithm you want more content like this.
Now that you know who is paying attention, let's talk about what happens after the webinar ends, because that is where most leads are accidentally lost.
Most people treat the webinar replay like a bonus recording. In fact, most high-performing teams treat it like a second launch. The replay is where quieter leads convert. Those are the ones who needed time, approval, or confidence before engaging. So a smart webinar host uses the replay to highlight key moments, outcomes, and decisions. And not the full hour. It's just the parts that change minds. For example, a replay that says, watch the 11 minutes where we break down why most CRM migrations fail, will outperform watch the full webinar every time. This is how you continue generating leads with webinars days or even weeks after the live session ends. Now that leads keep coming in, let's talk about the final piece that separates random success from repeatable growth.
Did you know that the best webinar marketers do not chase hacks? Yeah, they observe behavior. Here's some quick signs to note. When people stop watching, it tells you what bored them, and what they replay tells you what mattered. Besides, what they clicked tells you what they want next. When you study these patterns, every future lead generation webinar becomes sharper, more persuasive, and easier to sell. This is how you can generate leads from webinars consistently, not occasionally. You stop guessing and start compounding what already works. Sounds good? Now, let me show you what makes all of this possible without juggling 6 different tools.
Everything you just saw was created using WebinarNinja, an all-in-one webinar software meant to teach online, improve marketing, and grow sales. And this comes loaded with several benefits, such as power to create unlimited live, automated, hybrid, and series webinars on a single package, built-in webinar promotion and email marketing, tools to ensure your webinar reaches the right audience even before you start, an absolutely free library of expert-led courses with actionable strategies and proven techniques to turn webinar viewers into customers, free 30-day automated webinar challenge, where you learn to create automated webinars from scratch, step by step, with our seasoned expert, Omar Zenhom. And yes, your first 60 days are risk-free. Create webinars, generate leads, see the impact. And if it does not work, cancel anytime. Zero stress, no strings attached. Want to see how it all works? Just hit the demo link in the description and we'll show you around. Because this is not about selling you a tool, but offering solutions that help you generate better leads, stronger conversations, and more sales from every webinar you run. Like, share, and subscribe if you want more insights on how to create a successful lead generation webinar that saves time and budget. Now, before we end this, tell me your biggest webinar struggle right now. Is it getting registrations, keeping attention, or turning viewers into real opportunities? Drop your answers in the comments below, and the next video can feature your issues with interesting real-world solutions.